Hi everyone, I'm Henry here from the New Zealand Everyday Architect. In this show, we'll be covering the key site checks to do before starting a housing project. We'll be looking at the constraints, the opportunities, and how they can affect your build. Whether you're planning on building a new house, exploring a development, or working in architecture, this will give you a clear process to follow for your own project. So let's get started. One of the first things to look for are the site zoning and district plan rules. Most councils have site-specific maps online. By searching your local council's district plan maps, you can check the rules for building heights, boundary setbacks, recession planes, yard requirements, and much more. Also, check if the site is in a heritage or character area. These zones have much stricter requirements that really can shape your design. If your project looks complex, setting up a pre-application meeting with the council can be also very useful. Next up are the council's general maps. They are a great starting point, and these maps show things like services, overlays, and zoning information. Now let's talk about site hazards. One of the first things to check is natural hazards. Tsunami zoning. So some parts of New Zealand, especially coastal sites, sit in tsunami hazard zones. If your site is in one of these areas, it can affect the structural design and even future consenting. Check the flood maps and minimum floor levels to see if your site is at risk of flooding. It's also a good idea to email the council or local water authority. This way you can confirm the exact requirements for your site. Earthquake and fault line zones. Check if your site is close to a fault line. New Zealand is seismically active, and building near a fault line has serious structural implications. District plan maps and council maps will show you the known faults. But for more detail, a geotechnical engineer can give you a clearer picture of the ground conditions and risks. Knowing this early on can guide where you place a building, what kind of foundations you need, and whether the project is feasible. Next are the electrical services. It's important to check these early on because they can have a big impact. Look for the overhead power lines and power poles, including data lines. There are minimum clearances you need to allow for, and sometimes overhead power lines can also cross neighboring sites. On larger projects, you may also need space for an electrical transformer. That's if the street supply isn't strong enough for your development, so it's something very important to understand early on. Next, check the water services. This includes stormwater, wastewater, and water supply connections. Ask yourself, where are the public drains in the street? Are there any public drains running through the site? And is the site lower than the public drains, meaning pumps might be required? Stormwater management and runoff are mandatory in many parts of New Zealand. Your project might need stormwater tanks, soak pits, or water reuse systems. Usually, this means bringing on a civil engineer for assistance. Council websites and district plans can give you an early idea of what is required. Also check for existing underground services on the site. A free service like Before You Dig is really useful for that. The next thing to look at is the land's topography. Some council maps will give you rough ground levels and information, but it's important to get a proper topographical survey as early as possible. That survey gives you accurate site levels, the context of your neighboring properties, large trees, and other key features. This is especially important if you're working with a sloping site. Rubbish and recycling. This is something people often forget about. For smaller projects, regular wheelie bins to the street are usually fine. Just make sure there is a practical spot to store them. But for bigger developments, the rules change. You'll need communal rubbish areas, enough space set aside, bins close enough to homes, and proper truck access. It's not the most glamorous part of the design, but it's definitely one of the most important things to check. The next are the legal checks. Another important step is reviewing the certificate of title. That's where you'll find easements, right-of-ways, and legal boundaries. All of these can have a big impact on what you're allowed to build. You will also want to look at the subdivision type. Fee simple versus unit title work very differently. They affect ownership, services, and even the layout of the houses. And lastly, don't forget to visit the site in person. The reality can be very different from what the council maps show. Seeing it for yourself helps you spot challenges early on and gives you a much better sense of the context. So finally, once you've gathered all this information, you can start thinking about the bulk and location design, testing different building footprints and layouts against the constraints. So that's all for today. We've covered a lot here, so hopefully you found this information useful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section and let me know if there are any future topics you would like me to cover. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the show. It really helps get the information out there. I'm Henry from the New Zealand Everyday Architect, and I'll see you in the next show. Take care.